Welcome to the P's and Q's podcast. I'm your host, Quinée Ferre, and I'm living my best life. And I want to help you live your best life. On today's episode, I have a very special guest, my starseed, soul sister, infinite loving goddess, Joy Graysen in the building.
Hello. I'm so happy to be here, sharing space with you and the people that love you. I mean, that's a good place for me to be right now.
Joy is a singer, songwriter, producer, vocal mentor, and the owner of the School of Joy. You guys have probably seen her on my Instagram talking about her incredible workshops to help people express themselves as their truest selves. And she works with not just singers, but anyone that's going to be in front or even behind a camera. I'm so proud of you and the work that you're doing.
Thank you, sweetheart.
Thank you.
You know, we artists, people who create from their hearts, some people that create something from nothing, are the people that are going to do something about what's happening in the world right now. And so the more people we can help get on with it, you know, the more I'm paying my rent on this planet.
That's it. I love that phrase. We're all contributing. And for those of us creatives, us heart-centered people, shining our light, I love that. We are paying our rent on this planet by helping others. And you do such a good job. And I know one of the foundational principles that you teach is about love and fear and how to alchemize those two powerful energies.
Yes, that is actually the backbone of what I want to share with the world. What I am here to do on this planet, as far as I can tell so far, the purpose that I have is to free my voice. Vocally, as a singer, that's always been my purpose, to free the communication that's been gifted to me, or actually the connection that's been gifted to me, and I can use my communication skill and my voice to create a pathway for people to come and experience what I found in my heart. So that, and my intention is that this gives people an example of how to get inside of what is in their heart. Like what is actually at the center of who each one of us is a universe. And if we don't know how to acknowledge that universe, if we don't know how to honor that universe, if we don't know how to be proud of that universe, then we keep it hidden.
Yeah.
And we know it's the greatest gift we can give, but then we doubt whether we're going to be able to be the ones to deliver it. We doubt if we're good enough. We doubt if we compare to other people that are out there doing that. We doubt if we'll be taken seriously or if we'll be judged. You know, we wonder if we'll be judged. And so these universes that are us, these endless pools of infinite potential, the universe that was handed down to you from thousands and thousands of generations of loved ones that came before, that is collected now in you and your DNA and your soul. That universe is unique only to each of us. And if we don't know how to get into our own and we don't know how to share that, then we don't really know how to connect. And I believe that is all of our soul's purpose, is to connect. So I'm going on a really long tangent to say that I think that love is at the core of each of us. Our continual, shutting down of love, our perception that love is dangerous, that love is going to hurt, which has been propagated from every angle for as long as man has been on this planet, makes us fear the very thing that we are.
Yes.
I had this, 4 earthquakes that happened at once in my life. I felt like I'm either going to atrophy right now, or I'm going to have to start the engine cranking again and be reborn in this moment. And so I just started walking I said, like, I'll get my lymph system flowing, and that'll be a place to start.
Literally walking.
Just walking. And I started walking around my neighborhood, listening to yoga music, and I started feeling really good about just being with myself. And then I took it up into the woods. I didn't make it about exercise. I didn't make it about vanity. Like, dachshunds were like passing me twice. Once a dachshund passed me twice. I was like, how is that even possible that I'm that slow that it passed me? Like, did it go around the entire mountain and come back and still pass me? I started just like finding these hidden trails and just writing in my little iPhone 5S. And I just started downloading like everything that was around me in nature was showing me patterns.
Yes.
Was showing me its secrets. Was showing me its design. Was showing me its surrender. And I noticed that everything was in surrender to the sun.
Yes.
And it was like my little wonderland. I had friends. I had like the black beetle stink bug. That was Henry.
Oh, Henry.
I can't tell you how many Henrys I escorted across the path. Walter the butterfly was my favorite. There was Truffle the butterfly. There was Mumford was another kind of little beetle. I mean, there was a lot going on in the woods.
You have a lot of friends.
I had a lot of friends. And so, but I noticed that everything was in surrender to the sun. And I had this moment where I was like, that's the ultimate symbol of unconditional love, because everything in this world is alive because the sun is shining.
Yes.
And everything is just like completely defenseless, just in perfect surrender. And the sun doesn't give a fuck. The sun shines because that's what the sun does.
Yes.
Right? So I'm like, so this outward flow from center, this just shine, this give, is what keeps this whole solar system in place.
Yes.
It's what makes everything on this planet grow. It's not conditional. It doesn't shapeshift based on what's outside of it. Because I've been a coach for over 30 years for singers, teaching them how to step out of their fear. But this was like I was getting a front row seat to the answer to all of this. It was crazy.
Yeah, the grand lesson.
And I was like, okay, so I'm thinking in terms of singers, like when we're in this state on stage, there's nothing we can't do.
Yes.
But most of the people that I've known and that work with me, when they come to me, they're constantly fighting because they're doing this and they're afraid. They're afraid to connect. They know how to do the stuff.
Yes.
But they don't know how to connect their heart and their emotions to it. And when they get in front of people, it all shuts down, so they can't do that either. They can't do the technical part. So I'm like, what is this? If this is love, this is obviously fear. Right? So I suddenly got this visual of, well, there's the sun and there's the black hole. One is giving, one is sucking.
Yes.
One is needing what's external to fill its insatiable appetite, but it never gets filled.
Never.
And you can think of people like that. Narcissists, people that are energy vampires. They have no real sense of their own identity, even though they seem like the biggest bullies. But they're just so frightened that they don't even exist unless they have everyone's attention on them, unless they, whatever they're looking for from outside.
Ooh, we all know those humans.
Right, and that's on the extreme end of the spectrum. So I'm like, this is two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
This is, if you spread this out, and I have this graphic of, the love-fear scale, and how on this side of the love scale, if you could do this and never pull in your rays and never make yourself smaller, you'd keep, I believe, the heart space, right, scientifically is the biggest electromagnetic field in the human body.
Proven by science.
Proven by science.
Yes.
And when you open your heart, you literally are opening the access, the gateway, the portal to the quantum field of infinite potential. Quantum mechanics operates in waves,
Yeah.
not in particles.
Right.
So when we're in a state of fear, we shut down the wave function and we become like little mechanical marbles. And there's no flow going through that. There's no spirit going through that.
Yeah.
So
It's dense.
it's dense and it's finite.
Yes.
It doesn't continue. It just is and then it stops, and it is and then it stops. So you get this physics behavior where you're the sum of your parts. But when you have your heart open, you get this quantum behavior where you're in a flow, you're in the zone, and you're more than the sum of your parts. And the magic of the universe and all of the potential that exists within this divine design, suddenly you can play in that quantum playground because you're not afraid to open your heart.
Oh, yeah.
So I apply this to musicians, but I apply this to everyone because I believe everyone's an artist. And so,
Yes. And you apply this to life. This is the way you live your life.
This is the way I live.
I know it firsthand from you. You've always expressed your full heart with me from the very second we met.
Well, you did the same. I just reciprocated,
We are a beautiful reflection.
I think that's the best thing you can be in this world is a mirror.
Yeah.
I mean, in addition to everything else you're being.
Yeah.
But where other people are concerned, to just be able to hold up the light of their being to them.
Yeah.
And show them what you see,
Yeah.
When your heart's wide open, you can see the beauty.
Yeah.
When your heart's wide open, you can give the beauty because you're not afraid that by giving your beauty that you're emptying anything from yourself.
Right.
The opposite.
You know that you're pouring from an infinite cup.
Right. And it just keeps getting more beautiful.
It does. It is the beautiful gift that keeps on giving.
That is true. I picture it like that, like a fountain. And it just, the more you give, the more you flow, the more it just pours in. And there is no quantity. There is no space and time in the quantum field, in the spiritual realm. Other laws apply.
When did you learn how to open your heart in this way? Is this something that came naturally to you, or is it something you learned in a specific instance? Obviously, we're always growing and evolving, but what was the first time you really understood it?
The answer to that question lies in a bigger question, which is what, maybe not, I don't know. I was going to say music was my medium of communication before I could speak. I sang before I could speak. And I was exposed to music really, really young as a baby. And my ability to make sounds, imitate sounds, flow my emotion out melodically, and be able to ride a wave of sound really well. I got a lot of attention when I would sing from grown-ups. They saw me in a different way. They communicated to me in a different way because there was an awareness of intelligence being exchanged that went beyond, oh, isn't she a cute little baby who knows nothing?
Yeah.
There's a connection. So when I would open my mouth and sing like a 39-year-old when I was 1 or 2, people were like, they treated me differently. It established a precedent for me of what it feels like to be connected, to be seen, and to be heard, and to be acknowledged. And, and when I wasn't singing, it was like I was no longer there. I was an object. I feel like it opened my consciousness
At such a young age.
right from the start of my life.
Wow.
By the time I was 2.5, not even 3, I was singing in 3-part harmony. I played ukulele, guitar, and piano by ear.
Whoa.
I could, I forget what else. And I could sing, the melody and sound like anyone I was singing along with, as a baby.
Wow.
So my ability to create, very masterful sounds and create very intense connection with people. It was something that, once you taste that and you feel that, it's like that's what you want, and anything else is not, something very definitely missing. I remember I have a memory of being on my father's boat when he was fishing, and I was again around that age, 2.5, 3 years old, and I remember it, and I've seen pictures of that day, and I saw the fish suffocating in the pail after he caught them, and crying, and I developed asthma shortly after that, and I developed really bad allergies, and I was in and out of the hospital because I couldn't breathe, and I think that experience impacted me so deeply that I wonder, but I can't help think that the music had something to do with opening a channel between my heart and others.
Yeah.
So that when I would look at those fish or when I saw something suffering, it was incredibly difficult for me to not feel it in my own body and feel it in my heart very deeply.
Yeah.
So it just kind of set me on a path of I got to get back to this connection one way or another. So I sang my whole childhood, was always like leading with that in school. That was how I was, known. That was how I continued to maintain my ability to be seen for who I am. It's intrinsically connected. The opening of the heart is intrinsically connected to music for me specifically, but I think I've come to feel like everything is music. I can hear the thermostat buzzing right now from the other room. It's a very specific frequency. There's always melodies and counter melodies and rhythms and
saying life is a
lines.
beautiful symphony?
Life is a beautiful symphony. Everything in life is vibration and frequency.
That's right.
Some of it's audible, but it's always playing. So whether you can hear it or not, you can be moved by it and you can connect to it like floating down a river. It's like you really, and what I've found to be true is that when you connect to the quantum field, when you step out of fear and into this state of love where you are able to shine without condition, where you don't decide, I'm not going to be nice to that person because they weren't nice to me, but you're nice because you're nice.
Period.
And you're not anybody's doormat, but you're you, and you shine like you shine. Yes. And you don't let anyone else's energy or frequency interrupt that pattern.
You better preach.
And if you need to tell someone something that isn't as quote unquote loving, that's bigger love. If you tell someone, I'm setting a boundary and you don't have the right to do that, if you stand up and say something's wrong, that doesn't mean it's not coming from love. That just means it's coming from love of integrity. It's coming from love of that person, because blowing smoke is only going to enable them to continue to do bad things.
Right.
The bottom line is you can move without fear of consequence, because you recognize that you stand to lose a lot more by not staying true to your integrity.
You are so right about that. I love how you said that. I think so many are in this place where they require boundaries, but they haven't been taught yet how to lead with love and integrity. And it's okay to set those boundaries for love of self and for love of others, because it gives others the opportunity to step their shit up.
Right. And every great guru says, live unattached. And it's easier said than done, but when you're really in a state of grace with yourself and in a state of love and flow, you can let go of what's not going to continue in a parallel direction with where you're headed. And it's okay. It's okay. You're not losing anything. You can still love them. Just don't need to spend as much time with them.
Then there's that.
And then you get to, we're all, if you think of us like comets, like we're all on a trajectory. And if you pull the camera all the way back, at some point, we're going to be headed in the same direction for a while. And then eventually the trajectory is going to keep going and they're going to go their separate ways. It doesn't mean you don't still love them.
Right.
It doesn't mean you don't still care. It doesn't mean they aren't embedded and woven into who you are. forever, beyond body, right? They're part of that spiritual fingerprint now. But to be okay with whatever happens if you're staying true to your path and your frequency. Well, what I was going to say when it comes to music is, and being a coach for singers specifically, is that when you can step out of this field of fear of making a mistake, of not being perfect, of that imposter syndrome, and you can allow yourself to just play. Einstein says the highest form of research is play.
Yes.
If you can let yourself play, what happens when you play? You fall fucking down because you have to fall down. You're not going to learn how to do the monkey bars if you don't fall down a few times.
That's right.
Because falling down is part of how to not fall down. It's the biggest part of it.
Yeah.
Right? So learning how to step into a flow of play and of there is no consequence except me stopping.
Say that again for the people in the back.
Yeah. There's no consequence other than you stopping.
Yes.
That's the consequence. If you keep going and you fall down 1,000 times, the 1,000th and first time, you're not going to fall down again.
That's right.
You got all of those different lessons of balance every time you fell down. So what happens is not only as a singer do you get better and better at being on your game, but when you're not in fear of what other people are thinking, you access a whole different level of how your voice actually works. If you're going at it from a mechanical place and you're just all about the scales and hitting the notes and how do I sound, you can do that all day, every day, and become a great technician.
Yeah.
But that is never going to hold up if you don't know how to inject yourself into that instrument.
Right.
And ride that train. You have to be on the train.
Yes.
Those are just the frills.
Right.
The sound of your voice is just the nice shoes and the hairdo. Like, you have to be embedded, your spirit, your purpose.
Your heart.
Your heart.
Yeah.
And then if your heart's open, the whole of the quantum field will help and aid you into how that mechanics is going to show up in your instrument. Like, your body is hardwired to vocalize. You vocalize the minute you come out of the womb. You're like, every single note you hit when you scream from the womb is signaling a different sensor in your mother's brain that is sending down milk, that is stimulating hormone production, that is like every part of the vibration is saying something very specific. So when you are singing from your truth and you're not singing from a place of what is the audience thinking about me, on this fear, this black hole kind of like, I'm nothing if the audience doesn't like me. But instead you're like, I have to share something from my universe, from my heart, from my truth, because they need it.
Yeah.
If you're coming from that place, your body is going to show you how to say that on a melody in the most authentic way, in the most efficient way, in the most beautiful way. Because you're no longer watching yourself from outside. You're being like the sun and you're flowing out.
Yes.
And you're giving yourself away.
Just surrendering it all.
And the heart opens and the quantum field is like, whatever you need, it will be.
Oh, I love that.
And that, is what we do at the School of Joy.
Yes. Tell us about the School of Joy for those who are listening.
Okay, so my name is Joy.
Yes, it is.
It was my birth name. And my last name, which I didn't understand this until I was in my 20s, 5 years ago when I was 29.
Of course.
Is that my last name, my maiden name, was Stimmel.
Okay.
And the German word for voice is Stimme, without the L. So I was given this name at birth. Joy and voice is what it means.
Yes.
Right? And that is my life. And that's always been my mission. And it's just crazy how that works, because it was never a conscious decision. It was just a purpose that flowed through my veins, So the school of joy is my school, obviously, and of course, but joy is a frequency.
Yes.
That takes us to the top floor, takes us to the penthouse. When we are up there, we have the whole vista. We can see so much more than from the first floor.
That's right.
So when you're up in frequency, in a place of bliss or joy or ecstasy, so many things are firing the right way in your body. The vibrations and the waves that you send out to the world are so much stronger. So your broadcast is so much more defined. It's sweet. That's how I found my Matthew 2,700 miles away instead of 50 miles away, right?
Yeah.
We were talking about how I met the love of my life on one of the online dating platforms. And I had a 50-mile radius on my profile, I was telling you.
Yeah.
And he showed up on my feed from 2,700 miles away in Hawaii.
Right.
Right. So when you're sending out a signal and a broadcast of who you are, and you're letting your heart just put that out, it's like the biggest radio signal. And if your heart is wide open on the receiving end, you're going to receive that signal like a giant satellite dish.
Oh, yeah.
So whether it's the love of your life, or whether it's, connecting to your following, or just getting your music out there, as you elevate into this level of happiness and gratitude and seeing the beauty in the world, learning how to tune yourself to finding what's right, finding what's there that you can put your foot on to climb to the next step, instead of what so many people are stuck in, which is just what's wrong, and that's what they focus on, and that's what they get more of, and that's what they're tuned to, and so that's what the universe delivers back, is that channel.
Right.
That's the floor they're on, right?
Right.
So the School of Joy, specifically, I market to singers. Because that's what I've been doing the longest, but every kind of creator imaginable shows up on my doorstep.
Yeah.
I have screenwriters, I have actors, just lots and lots and lots of beautiful people that know that they're here, a lot of coaches that know that they're here for so much more than what they're letting themselves do.
Right.
And it's because they're afraid, or they don't trust themselves, or they can't get out on stage or in front of the camera and maintain the brilliance that they can when they're alone in rehearsal.
Yeah.
So I teach them not only about how this concept, this philosophy about love and fear, but how to actually deconstruct the fear so that they're not just muscling through, they're not just pushing through the fear, they're actually taking it away.
And
so there's no threat.
Opening.
Therefore, it's safe to come out. It's safe to move about the cabin. It's like, I use this analogy sometimes, like if you're a kid and you're petrified to get out of bed in the middle of the night because you know there's a monster under your bed. And all those years you just had to use the restroom in the middle of the night, you didn't go. And one day in the daytime, you go under the bed and you see there's this giant piece of lint on your nightlight. And you're like, take that piece of lint off. Maybe that was the monster all along. And then at night, there's no more shadow on the wall that looks like a monster. And now the kid is like, I discovered the truth, which is, this is just my room.
Yeah.
And then you can start to train yourself to create a different narrative in your head about what's really going on outside of you.
Yeah.
It's all about the story we tell ourselves.
That's
so you can
right.
look at the world as a really dangerous place, or you can look at the world and you can find the beauty in it, no matter where you are, no matter what's going on. No matter what's going on, even in the worst situations. Look at what Anne Frank left behind.
Right.
Or what Nelson Mandela came out of 27 years of prison to change the face of Africa, because he never let the story in his mind shift from who he is and what he saw as possible.
Yes.
Fear is an inevitable part of life, and we just have to learn how to disagree with it and how to muscle through it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that premise to me already goes against what I believe, which is if you can learn how to flow with something instead of disagree with it and go against it, then you can ride that flow into exactly where you want to go.
Flow right downstream.
Exactly. So like, fear isn't an inevitable part of life. It's your stories that you're telling yourselves, either subconsciously or consciously, usually it's subconscious,
Yeah.
that are feeding this sense of danger. And then your body reacts. And you just keep feeding that. And then your attention and your frequency is waiting for something to go wrong, looking for something that's wrong, finding it because it's always going to be there.
Yeah.
And that's where you live and that's where you stay.
And then saying, see, I knew it.
Right. But when you start to understand that it's like the Matrix, it's all a mind game. And if you start looking for what's right,
Yes.
you're not going to necessarily get blindsided by what's wrong because you're operating on a different channel now. You have different powers, you have different abilities because you're accessing potential from the quantum field now.
Yes.
You're not susceptible to what you were susceptible to down here.
That's right.
And, and so it's in our DNA, it's in our subatomic particles, it's in everything that's on the media, it's in everything that's in advertising, it's in every nook and cranny of society. You are being told to look at what's wrong so they can sell you something to make it better.
To make it better.
Right? And you're programmed that way, physiologically. You're programmed to go take this big brain that is our asset and hide it in a cave. We don't have long teeth and sharp claws and can't run and climb up a tree to get away from danger.
Yeah.
We hide. That's what we're programmed to do. So this is a new age of human awakening
Yes.
and activation, as you know. And it feels really selfish to just be talking about my point of view because you are such a work of art, and it's hard for me to not engage in that in this moment. But
thank you.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
You know what's interesting, and everybody listening will agree with this. I feel like I'm talking. Everything you're saying are the things that I say. I'm listening to you as we talked about the mirror shining, and you are my mirror. I have goosebumps just listening to you. It's such confirmation, and it's so beautiful.
I know that about you because every post, no matter how cute and sexy and or goofy or wonderful or inspiring it is, it's like, I know you already know everything. You already know everything, you know, because it all, again, it comes through the vibration of what you're putting out there.
That's
Such
right.
a perfect blend of balanced music that you create. This trail of stardust that comes from you is a symphony, and it speaks for you.
Thank you,
Right.
my sister.
So I think
I'm a happiness influencer.
You are. And we tune, because if we stay here,
Yes.
we tune other people here, because when they feel this and they taste this and they see this, they feel better.
Yes.
And then they start to feel better, and then they start to want to know, how do I stay there?
Yes.
What do I need to do to stay there?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's so much simpler than anyone would believe if I told you.
It is.
It is.
It's tuning the dial. My fourth guided meditation is a 5-minute guided meditation, and it's about tuning the dial, tuning your frequency, the ability that we have at any given moment to consciously I'm just going to elevate my frequency. I felt myself I watched the news and I started feeling anxious, started feeling fear, or I talked to that person that I always feel a little bit low after hanging out with. Mm-hmm. But I recognize that, and I'm just going to take that dial and I'm going to tune it up. I'm going to tune my frequency up. I'm going to connect with nature. I'm going to connect with joy and joy. I'm going to connect with the animals and the frequency of love. And it's that simple.
It is, but it's a practice, because it goes. It's like swimming upstream. It goes against everything we've been programmed to pay attention to.
Right.
Right.
And it's a practice.
It's a very specific practice, and I believe it takes a tight conspiracy of like-minded people doing it together, because It can take one comment from the wrong person to knock you out again.
Yeah.
Right back in. I call it room A. Actually, there's 3 rooms. There's room A, room B, and room C.
Oh, do tell.
Yes. In room A, room B, and room C are viewpoints.
Okay.
When you're in your shine, let's say you're on stage and you're like the sun and you're just like, I'm here to sing my song. I'm here to connect. I'm here to like leave a trail of glory behind me, you know, stardust.
Yeah.
And you're just doing your thing. That's room B. You're anchored. You're sitting in your throne. The throne has roots that go down into the earth, and you're just like, I'm just here doing me, and I'm here to share that with you.
Yeah.
Room A is when you leave your own eyeballs. You go out into the audience, and you watch yourself from imaginary points of view.
Oh.
And you're sure that that person in the front row who just yawned hates what you're doing and they're ready to fall asleep. And you're telling yourself stories. I also call it hanging mirrors, where it's like you give everyone in the audience a mirror, but they're like the funhouse mirrors. So when you look at the person in the audience, you see a distorted perspective of yourself.
Yeah.
So it becomes you versus the audience. It becomes like this hostile environment. And it's also, room A is also like the processing lens. Like, you're the coach sitting on the bench watching the player on the field, and you're like, well, you didn't do this, you didn't do this, you didn't do this.
Yeah, taking notes.
Yeah, and it's like, you're no longer the player on the field having fun and doing what you do. You're out there. You're no longer on the stage. You're out in the audience judging yourself. So you're several steps removed. And you can remember what's room A, because A is awkward, A is anxious, obnoxious, right? Room B is your being. Room B. And room C,
the best place to be.
Room C is actually an even better place to be. Because room C is room B, plus you can kind of overlay all the technical stuff without getting thrown off. So you can be responsible for it all. It's kind of peripheral. You're aware, okay, that note's coming, but you're so focused with what you need to be thinking about, where your head needs to be, that you just take it all into account. And room C is the creator space. So I teach people how to get permanently situated in room B, and the minute they slide into room A, they know what to do to get back.
Yeah.
And once they know how to do that, that's the fundamental, foundational piece for everything else in your life.
Yeah.
How to be in room B. Once you're in room B, you can start to figure out how to play in room C. Which is the quantum playground. So I have two major offers that I put out. One is the 12-week program that gets you forever into understanding how to get out of room A, no matter where it happens, why it happens, who it happens with, and be stably in room B for the rest of your life.
Nice.
And my 12-month program that I built this as the runway to that is you're learning how to live your life in room C, in the creator space, where you're not afraid to be yourself anymore. You're not thinking about what other people think in order to feel like you have an identity or a valid reason to do what you do. You're here, you're shining, and you're creating because that's your job. And you're elevating, and you're loving, and everything just keeps getting better. And, you know, it sounds too good to be true, but I'm living it.
Exactly.
I have the love of my life. I have my health. I'm living at the beach now. I mean, like, you're at my house for the first time.
Oh, my goodness.
It's a dream come true.
It's a dream. It's a dreamy place. You're a dream. So it makes sense.
A dream is a wish your heart makes.
When you're fast asleep or awake.
Cinderella said it.
She
best.
did. I agree with that.
I love you.
I love you dearly. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you for opening your beautiful home to me and Yubi and my audience. We're grateful.
Yay.
Can you please tell them where to find you when they are going to connect with you? Because I know they will be.
Yay. I'm so happy. I really sincerely hope you do, because there's so much living to do and there's so much loving to do.
Yes.
It's just a waste. So many millions and millions and millions of artists die with their dream trapped inside of them.
Yeah.
Most of them do. We're all masters inside. We just have to find it and let it out and learn how to do it.
Share it.
You know? So I am primarily on Instagram at the moment,
Oh.
getting ready to kick a few other things into gear. But for now, I would say find me on Instagram.
Okay.
It's at Free Your Voice with Joy.
Hey.
At Free Your Voice with Joy.
Fantastic. I will also be putting the link in the description. Thank you for all the love that you shine in the world and in my life too. You're so supportive and just such an inspiring light, such a loving light in my life. And I'm so grateful for you.
I feel the same.
It's amazing.
I love you.
You're a beautiful reflection.
And we're not going to make out right now.
Not on camera.
We call Matthew up and we drank a bottle of wine today called Menage a Trois.
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Hey. Anyways, so thank you all for being here on this episode. Thank you to my dear sister, Joy Graysen, for being here. You guys make sure you connect with her offline on Instagram. As always, I appreciate you for being here so much, and I love you.
Oh my God.
Toodaloo.
Bye.